Senior Advisor for the RNC, Danielle Alvarez. We also have our special guest with us for the next couple hours, distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum. Really great to have you with us. Danielle, I want to talk to you. Trump's numbers obviously remain very strong at this point, days following the indictment. And the same CBS News YouGov poll also asked likely GOP primary voters how this indictment changes their view of the former president, if at all. And not surprisingly, 61% of the voters say it doesn't change how they view them. So talk to me, Danielle, give us a sense of what the scene has been like at the RNC since this indictment came down and what you and your team are noticing about the polling that we're seeing from the American people.
You know, Democrats have gone after President Trump time and time again. And the thing that we have come to realize as conservatives, as Republicans across the country, is that there's a two-tiered judicial system here. And they go after the former president, and now he's been indicted. But we forget about Hillary Clinton and the 2,000 emails and the servers that she scrubbed and the 22 classified, top secret classified documents that she had, the whistleblower who just came out against the Biden family. And there really is this two-tiered system for Democrats and Republicans, and that's the problem that we're seeing. When it comes to the primary, candidly, the RNC has a rule that we will remain neutral. We will build the infrastructure and hand it over and partner with who primary voters choose as the eventual nominee. But you're absolutely right. There is a lot at play here, and we're seeing the polls show us that it's not moving our voters because they understand that any choice in the Republican Party is going to be better than what Joe Biden and Democrats have put forward.
Thane, what do you make of the former president's legal strategy here in terms of navigating this along with his political campaign?
So, Kilmany, one thing that you'll never hear on the other networks, but you hear it here on Newsmax, is the Presidential Records Act, which applies to former presidents. It's a statute that only applies to Bill Clinton and George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and guess who else? President Trump. The Presidential Records Act is a civil act that is designed to recognize that the President of the United States has a possessory interest in documents created during his presidency, and he or she will engage in a negotiation with the National Records, National Archives, to see if or any documents he or she can retain. You never hear mainstream press talk about it. You don't hear the special counsel talk about it. It changes the entire dimension of the legal strategy. The good news here is that the judge that is assigned to this case, you may remember she was the same judge that heard this case initially in civil court when she imposed a special master. Mm-hmm. And one of the things she said was, when the government said no one is above the law, she said he's the president of the United States and he's in a league of his own.
We know that this next one to Danielle, we know that the RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, recently announced the plans for the first of the debates among all of the current Republican candidates. And we've heard that the former president has suggested he may skip the first debate altogether. Danielle, where does the RNC stand on that potential looming decision?
So that's going to be a decision up to the former president and his campaign. They're going to have to make a strategic decision about joining the debate stage. The RNC's role is to create an unbiased, a fair and neutral platform for our candidates to present their ideas to Republican voters, to primary voters. That's what we are committed to doing. And I think that in a contest of ideas, Republicans win. I sure hope to see every candidate on that debate stage making their case to primary voters.
Yeah, Danielle, has there been some encouragement behind the scenes to try to get the former president to at least have the American people see the candidates lined up against one another?
You know, I'm not privy to those one-on-one conversations. What I do know for certain is that our leadership, whether it's Chairwoman McDaniel or the chair of our debate committee, Dave Bossie, have been in conversation with all of the candidates and all of their campaigns throughout this process. Again, we want a fair, transparent, and neutral process that the RNC is establishing here. So I know that there have been conversations. And like I said, I certainly hope that folks get on stage and debate. But the reality is our candidates are already putting in the work. They're crisscrossing the country. They're not afraid to go on mainstream media and present their ideas. And that's what we have to do in contrast with Joe Biden hiding in the basement again.
The RNC is now launching a new campaign known as Bank Your Vote in order to boost the party's number of votes in early voting ahead of the 2024 election cycle. Danielle, tell us a little bit more about why this specific plan has been created.
Yeah, so I encourage everyone watching today to go to bankyourvote.com. It's really simple. We have to change hearts and minds. We know that because of the pandemic in 2020, laws were changed or election laws simply weren't followed, again, because of the pandemic. And we made sure in 2020 that we focused on securing the vote. And we were in over 100 lawsuits across the country. We had 80,000 poll workers and poll watchers to help secure and make sure that elections were administered fairly. Now in 2022, we did that in the midterms. And now in 2024, we want to make sure that if we have 30 days of voting happening in some states even more, that we're taking advantage of that entire time, and that Republican voters, independent voters, even soft Dems that are going to switch our way because this president is a failure, that they are banking their vote. It's like playing football. If you have 4 quarters, you're not going to wait till the 4th quarter to score touchdowns. You want to put points on the board the entire game. And that's what we have to do. I encourage everyone, head to bankyourvote.com.
Thane, we'll have you talk a little bit more about that later in the program, about this problem dating back to much further back than 2020, back to 2016. Danielle Alvarez, thanks so much for being with us. Thane Rosenbaum will be sticking around.